We are in Matthew chapter 27 today. Now, they're working on the AC right now. It's colder today, and so the thermostat's all goofy. Thankfully, I have a towel here, so I can really be a Flint bastard. Woo! All I gotta do now is get everybody some Flint City fans. You can fan us the whole time. Then we will truly be part of the city. But I'm going to tell you the story before we get into Matthew 27. When I was in college, I was a sucker for a pretty face. And I was sitting one day in the commons area of our college, and a young lady was by. I knew the lady from classes, and she saw a mark, and she knew I was lame. And so she came over to me, she flashed me a pretty smile, and she said, "Hey, Ernesto." I'm like, "Hey, you're talking to me, great." And she's like, "I need a favor." I'm like, "Whatever you need." Like, I was young and foolish. She goes, "I have this trash I don't want to carry out. Could you discard it for me?" I'm like, "Whatever you need, I'll take care of it." And she brings to me this bag of warm nacho cheese. Like, it's a you know, 7-Eleven, you go there and get a chili dog or a pretzel, and you push the orange button, and the cheese comes out, the liquid warm cheese. Well, in that container, there's a bag full of, it ain't cheese, but it's something that tastes like cheese. And, in a big place, they'll be like 7-Eleven will be a small bag, but at college, they have big bags in there. I'm telling you, 10-pound bag of warm, liquid cheese. And she puts it on my table, and says, "Thank you," and walks away. And I'm standing there, I'm like, I got a 10-pound bag of cheese. I'm touching it, and it moves. And the bag's thick, too. The bag is going to take a hit. And I'm like, where am I going to do this cheese? I take the cheese, put it over my shoulder. I walk out into the plaza where all the students are. And when I see that, I'm like, "Look at this bag of cheese I got." And I'm just being really dumb, but not just loud. I walk into my dormitory, I go to the front desk, and I'm like, "Hey, look at my bag of cheese." I put it on their desk, and we're touching it and laughing and telling dumb cheese jokes. And I'm just being stupid. So I get the cheese, go up the elevator to the 10th floor where I lived. I go out into our dorms. I live in Chicago, so it's high rises, and every college dorm in the middle has like a community space where all the students can hang out and talk. And it's just there's chairs and a table in the middle. So I walk into the lounge. There's a bunch of students there, a lot of freshmen were there. And I had an idea for this cheese. I knew what I wanted to do with this cheese. I'm like, this would be hilarious. This exploded somewhere and got cheese all over everywhere. That would be hilarious. But I'm like, how? I can't put a bomb in there, well, I obviously can't put a bomb in it, but I can't put a firework in there. But how would this cheese explode? I couldn't figure out how to do it. But I knew it'd be a hilarious prank to blow the cheese up somewhere on my college campus. So I walk into the dorm room, and I got homework to do. I'm busy. So I walk in, I'm like, "Hey, Ernesto," I'm like, "Hey, everybody." They're like, "What's that?" I take the cheese, I put it on the stinking altar, as we call it, this big table. And I'm like, there's all these freshman kids, and I'm like, upperclassmen. They all thought it was cool. And I'm like, "That, young fellas, is a cheese bomb." And I just walk out. I literally back out of the room smiling like, and I just leave. I think to myself, whatever happens next, I may have brought them the weapon. I may have introduced the idea to them, but if I don't do it, if I'm the guy that actually blows it up, is it really my fault? I thought to myself, I'm going to wash my hands of this awful idea, and then I won't get in any trouble. So I'm sitting in my dorm room. 10 minutes go by, my phone rings. I get up. I'm doing my homework. I'm being a good student. Phone rings. I go pick it up, and it's like a voice. The voice is being masked, and I'm just got like espionage movie. "Ernesto, look outside your window." Okay. So I put my window down, put my head out looking, and all of a sudden, 3 floors above me, the cheese just flies out the window. And our 20-story building, there's a large porch. And I'm like, he's not going to clear the porch. I'm watching the trajectory. I'm like, he's not going to clear it. He clears the porch. It hits the plaza. It was beautiful. It was a cheese bomb. And listen, if that would have hit somebody, that would have died. Like, you go to head wrap. Oh, what happened? I was walking. I don't know. And it was cheddar. It was the cheddar gotcha. But it hit, exploding, and I'm laughing. I'm like, the guys did it. It's so funny. And I'm smiling, laughing. I'll step. When he's going to pick it up, and it's the front desk. Doug, Ernesto, what's that bag of cheese you just had? And I was like, in the plaza. So what happened after all that? I tried it. I got called into the dean. Turns out, overnight, the cheese froze. And so they had to call all the guys to come out and scrape it off the sidewalk. It was on park benches. It was on lighting poles. They charged me for all the man hours to put that cheese on. It was like $280 I had to pay. And then they made me wash the dean's car for a week. Like that. The point of my story is this. I walked into a room with an idea. Walked into a room with the object of destruction. I gave these young bucks a cool idea and thought, well, I'm going to walk away, wash my hands of this, and it will no longer be my problem. Guess what? Everyone saw me with a bag of cheese. Everyone knew I had it. I took the fall for it. Pontius Pilate is a very famous guy, okay? And one thing he's known for the most in history is giving us that phrase, to wash your hands of something. Because Jesus, during the trial of Jesus Christ, there comes a point where at the end of the trial, Pontius Pilate, the governor of Jerusalem, the Roman governor, the Roman prefect, he has Roman servants bring up a bowl of water, and he washes his hands. And he's like, listen, I wash my hands of Jesus. I'm not going to crucify him, but I'm not going to take the crowds either. His goal is, listen, I want them to go, but you guys don't. So I'm just going to wash my hands. I'm going to walk away. Whatever happens next, it ain't my fault. And this phrase, we still use today, don't we? Wash your hands of something. Look up on dictionary.com what that phrase means, to wash your hands of something. It means to absolve oneself or to distance yourself from responsibility. To absolve yourself or to distance yourself from responsibility. So Pilate attempts to wash his hands of Jesus. And from his actions, we're going to learn a few things about ourselves today. We begin in Matthew 27. We'll begin in verse 11. Now Jesus stood before the governor. The governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" So, Pilate, the governor, the Roman governor, doesn't live in Jerusalem most of the time. He doesn't live there, okay? He only goes to his praetorium, if you will, when there's a large influx of Jewish travelers into the city. And it's Passover. There's a lot of Jewish people coming in for Passover. The city is swelled, and during this time of great business, Pilate comes to be in Jerusalem to watch over his city. And while he's there one morning, all of a sudden here comes a crowd of agitated people. And they have a man in chains. Pilate don't know this guy. He doesn't know Jesus. They're mad at him for something. They bring Jesus to him. Pilate, what do you want me to do with this guy? They're like, yeah, put him to death. We want him dead, only you can kill him. Because you're Rome, we're not. So Pilate takes Jesus into the back to interrogate him. Like, why do you want to kill you? Who are you, man? He's like, hey, are you the king of the Jews? Jesus said, you said so. But when he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he gave no answer. And Pilate said to him, do you not hear how many things they testify against you? But Christ gave him no answer. Not even to a single charge that he, the governor, was greatly amazed. If you read the other accounts, Mark, Luke, John, the interrogation of Pilate to Christ is a very unique thing. Because Pilate keeps on engaging Jesus, and Jesus keeps on surprising him. Pilate has seen insurrections. Pilate has seen revolutionaries. Pilate knows what these punks look like, and Christ does not fit the bill. Christ does not come across as some political yahoo. Jesus, he's steadfast, he's patient, he's humble. He's unafraid. And every time Pilate engages Christ, very quickly he will disengage. He will back up. Whenever they talk, it's like, it's like when me and my brother grew up. My brother Tony and I were both big guys, okay? We're strong dudes. Our whole life we used to fight all the time. And when you're a little kid, when you're like 7 or 8, you fight, it's funny, right? You wrestle, you fall, get hurt, you cry, you say you're sorry, and you feel. But when you're 15, and your hands are the size of a ham hock, when you grow up and become big, well, fighting all of a sudden becomes dangerous. If I punch him and punch him, guess what? Something's getting broken. My cheekbone, his nose, something's bad. If we start wrestling, it's like, I don't know, it's like bears in a room, just like we're going through walls, we're knocking over tables. It's going to be dangerous. So we had to a point where whenever we start fighting as kids, or as teenagers, we're 15, he ticked me off, I ticked him off, we'd like come get into his face and yell, they're pushing, and then we both kind of back down, like, we can't fight no more, we're too strong. We're going to burn this house down if we fight. In the same way, Pilate, whenever he started to engage Jesus, would always back up. Because he said, listen, I don't really want to know who you are, what you're about. I'm just trying to deal with the problem of you. So here's the first thing I want to get to is this. Washing your hands of Jesus is simply a refusal to engage Jesus. Washing your hands of Christ is simply a way of refusing to engage Jesus. Pilate knew there's something about Christ. And whenever he got close, he'd back up. There was one time where Pilate's like, who are you, man? And Christ says, listen, all those who hear the truth hear my voice. Christ is like trying to pull Pilate in. Like, listen, do you hear the truth? Do you know what? Do you want to know who I really am? All those who hear the truth hear my voice. Do you hear me? And Pilate goes, what is truth? And he bails. He walks away. Every time Christ drops a truth bomb on Pilate, he retreats. He doesn't want to know who Christ is. Christ is a political problem. He doesn't want to know if this guy's a king. He doesn't know if he's God. He doesn't want to deal with Jesus Christ at all. He refuses to acknowledge or engage Jesus as the king. And here's the reality of things for many of us. We talked about a few weeks ago, people deny Jesus. People deny him. He's not God. I don't like him. I hate Jesus. Some deny him. Some betray him. But many people in America just don't deal with him. They just avoid him. They dodge him. Here's the thing. People who avoid Christ, who dodge Jesus, who refuse to even examine his claims, all they're doing is refusing to engage Jesus. And here's the thing. We live in America, the richest nation on the planet. And you know what wealth does for us? Wealth makes us not need God. Well, we think that's true. If you have food and shelter and a job, then what do you need God for? If I've got good love, if I've got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, if I've got a kid, if I have somebody to give my life to, what do I need God for? And in America, we don't need God. So God is an elective. He's not a, what do you call that? After the elective? He's not a required course. God is not a required course. He's an elective for most of us. In 2008, during the recession, the Great Recession, that was bad. I don't even remember how bad it got. The housing market crashed. I was in India, and I was seeing the Indian newspaper how bad it was going over here. In India. Indians are like, man, America's going through hard times. We're all poor there. I'm living in a hub reading about America going through hard financial times. Like, I'm not in the water. America's hadn't got hard. But during the Great Recession, here's the crazy thing. Churches and church attendance swelled during the Great Recession. Because people, for a moment, lost their jobs. Their money became tight. Their lives got shaken. They wondered, what does it all mean? Is there a God? Does he love me? Can he help my family? And people started coming to Jesus looking for help. And as soon as things got better, guess what? People left again. For many of us, many people, They just don't need Jesus. They don't need God. They don't care about God. It's not, they don't deny him. They don't hate him. They don't try to fight him. They just go, you know what? I got what I need. I got food. I got a job. I got a girlfriend or a boyfriend. I don't need him. If you ask him, do you believe in God? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. And there's a refusal. There is a refusal to just engage him. Now, there are some people who don't know if they believe, who are truly searching. When I first started going to church when I was 14 years old, I went to church for a whole year before I ever believed in Jesus. I went and sat in the back wondering, is this stuff real? Is this whole God thing, is it fake? Is it a scam? What, they want my money? What is going on? I sat there wondering, what is this guy talking about? But I was a true seeker. I wanted to know, is this real? Many people on the fence who say, I don't know if there's a God or not, many of them don't seek truth at all. They just want to do what they want to do and not work the God question. People are just doing their thing, living their life, and you know what? If there's a God, I guess I'll meet him when I die. If the Bible's attitude is that attitude. Washing your hands with Jesus is simply refusing to engage him. The question if there is a God is a pretty important question. Is there something more than this life? Is there something more? I got a buddy of mine. A guy I know, and he's more of an acquaintance. You know acquaintance, you get a lot of those in your neighborhood. He's an acquaintance of mine. We talk sometimes. I'll be out mowing or raking. He'll see me. We'll talk, you know, in the street like neighbors do. A neighbor friend of mine shared with me he was in some real hard times. His daughter had a kid, and baby was about 3 months premature. Baby weighed like 2 pounds, and the baby's not doing well. Baby, wow. You can't even say the words. You can't say the words sometimes. And we're talking, and he got really real all of a sudden. He's like, dude, I lost my peace of mind. I can't sleep. I can't eat. Like we've never talked this way. We're just acquaintances. We don't talk about real things. Also, we're about real stuff. And in this moment of great suffering, great pain, he's wondering, what happens next? Who do I ask for help? Is there a power greater than my doctor? Is there hope beyond the grave? These questions all of a sudden come running to the surface. Questions that have been left untouched for a lifetime, all of a sudden in the midst of great suffering, all of a sudden they're front and center. And most of us, though, if they're not front and center, we never, ever look at them. We're content to leave it in someone else's house. Who is Jesus? What does he want of us? What does it mean to follow him? These are questions that are not questions we can dodge. We can't just wash our hands with Jesus. Pilate doesn't want to engage Jesus. And then what does he do next? Verse 15. Now at the feast, the governor was accustomed to release for the crowd any one prisoner who they wanted. So apparently every Passover, Pilate doesn't get to win the crowd's affection. Every single year, Pilate pardons one criminal. How cool is that? Like if you happen to be like, if you were a Jewish guy living in Israel, and your kid went to prison because he stole some bread, you were to letters to the governor every year, please forgive my son for stealing the bread. And one day he goes, I'm giving you one of your kids back to you. I forgive Abraham for the bread he stole. He is free. And all the family like, oh, you're the best governor. We love you, Pilate. It's a thing to just curry up to the Jews, to make them like him. Every year, one day gets pardoned. Probably a party every year. So Pilate's like, I don't want to kill Jesus. I don't think he's a bad guy. It says, Pilate says, when he examined Christ, it says, I find no guilt in him. When Pilate examined Jesus, he goes, this guy doesn't seem like a bad dude. So here's his plan. So they had a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. When they gathered, Pilate said to the crowds, who do you want me to release for you? Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Christ? Pilate doesn't want to deal with the Jesus problem. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to put it back in their hands. You have two guys. You have Barabbas, the murderer, the nasty killer. Just, this guy's a bad dude. Or Jesus, who, I guess the heretic, what are you going to kill him, buddy? And Pilate thinks, of course I'm going to choose Jesus. You're going to have like a kill with blood on his hands, or there's like this dude over here who's all cool. Who are they going to set free? He thinks, I'll do this thing, they'll pick Jesus, and I'm off the hook. See, Pilate is motivated by fear. He's afraid of the crowds. He is afraid of these crowds. It says earlier that Pilate sent Jesus to Herod, trying to get Christ to a different courtroom because he didn't want to make this decision. Pilate's trying to dodge Jesus with every ounce of his being. And at this moment, he's like, listen, who do you want? I'm like, one guy go. Barabbas the murderer or Jesus who is called the Christ? Who do you want to let go? And everything he's doing, what by fear, what happens. For he knew that it was out of envy that they had delivered Jesus up. Besides, while he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent word to him, have nothing to do with this righteous man, for I have suffered much because of him today in a dream. What's crazy is, he's sitting on the judgment seat in court, a note comes from his wife. He opens the note, and his wife goes, honey, I had a dream about Jesus. Don't mess with him, don't hurt him. I had a bad nightmare. He's a good man, don't kill him. So Pilate knows, I don't think he's guilty, my wife doesn't think he's guilty, but the crowds are getting loud. So I'll cheat. I'll wash my hands. I'll say, pick the guy you want. Who do you want? Now the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and destroy Jesus. The governor gets into them, which of the two do you want me to release for you? And they said, Barabbas! Pilate said to them, well, what should I do with Jesus who is called the Christ? And they all said, let him be crucified! He said, why? What evil has he done? But they shouted all the more, let him be crucified. Pilate does wash his hands of Christ. And washing your hands of Jesus, it's motivated by fear. A lot of us don't want to examine Jesus. We don't want to follow Jesus because we're afraid of what's going to mean for our lives. If you really believe Jesus, if you really obey Jesus, he might mess your stuff up. He might take away some of your toys. No joke. At my own college, we had a teacher. He had a big old beard, old guy. And a lot of us young bucks didn't respect the older crew. We thought we knew everything, they didn't know nothing, because young kids were always so proud and arrogant. And this old guy, though, he loved Jesus, and he was bold in his faith. He told a story how he, as he preached in Chicago, had always seen this certain, I don't know how to say it, he was a pimp. He wore the very loud suits. He walked with a really cool cane, he had a lime green Rolls Royce, walked around Chicago in that city car. He was a pimp. And he saw this guy all the time. And so he's on top of this guy, so he approaches this guy. This old white man approaches a straight-up hood gangster and says, excuse me, do you know Jesus? I wouldn't do it. But he does it. And they become friends. And this guy becomes a Christian. He meets Jesus, believes in Jesus. I'm gonna follow Christ. And he asked my professor, he goes, man, I love Jesus, I want to follow him. Now, does that mean I can't be a pimp anymore? Like, that's a pretty good question. It's a fair question. This how I make my money this way. I'm known this way in the world. In Chicago, I have a lot of street cred. Can I still do this and be a Christian? And guess what the answer is? No! You can't sell human beings if you're Christian. You can't do it. And he's like, you can't do it. And so this guy, no joke, I've met him a few times on my travels, on my journeys. He became, like, literally, what do you call himself? He became the chaplain to the Chicago pimp scene. He didn't sell anybody, didn't deal drugs, but still wore his awesome outfits, drove his 9 Rolls Royce, and would do all these things and just try to tell all his old crew about Jesus. But Jesus got his life, and listen, didn't make that good money no more. Changed his stuff. Got made fun of by a lot of guys. Meeting Christ for him meant I'm going to have to lose things I've had in my life for decades. And a lot of us are afraid of that. If I actually follow Christ, what does it mean for my life? What if I'm not in charge? What if I'm not the king or queen anymore? What if Christ asked me something that I don't want to give him? I was sharing Christ with a buddy of mine once, and we got all the way to the point of the decision. Will you follow? And he thought about it. He goes, man, if I follow Christ, I can't be with this girl anymore. Because he knew it was a very toxic thing, full of just codependence and drug abuse. But I thought, Jesus, I got to walk away from her. And he goes, and I ain't leaving because I love her. And he refused to meet Jesus because he didn't want to let go of this. And it was crazy to witness. It was crazy to witness. Someone who understood the cost so well, who actually believed in some of Christ's truth, was like, man, I want what I want. Leave me alone, God. And walked away from him. A lot of people washing their hands of Jesus is motivated by fear. Fear of losing the things we love. Fear of the sin that so easily entangles us. We like it. A lot of us like our sin. I love my sin. Pilate's afraid of the crowds, trying to find a way out, and nothing's working. So what does he do? Verse 24. So when Pilate saw he was gaining nothing, but rather a riot was beginning, he took the water. He washed his hands before the crowd, saying, I am innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves. And all the people answered, his blood be on us and on our children. He tries to find a middle ground. He can't find one. So in the end, he just goes, I wash my hands of Jesus. Do with him what you want. And he tells his soldiers, do what they command you to do. He believes that washing his hands of Jesus will make him innocent. He says, I am innocent of this man's blood. Is he innocent? Is he innocent? No. He has the power to stop this, and he doesn't. I remember in Chicago once, I was at McDonald's. I was on Main Street. So I was at McDonald's. There's a big window in front of me. I was eating my McDonald's, and people in Chicago is a walking city. Flint's kind of we're a weird city. When I first moved to Chicago, I didn't know cities were like that. I didn't know people lived in cities anymore. Like, I remember moving from Flint to Chicago, and just there was people everywhere, and high-rises, and businesses, and money. It was nuts. And so in Chicago, I'm eating. People are walking by, like hundreds of them by my window. I'm eating, people watching. All the people walking by. This is great. And all of a sudden, and it happened so fast. There was a young girl, businesswoman, very thin, very attractive lady. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, someone grabbed her from behind. Another guy walking towards her just punched her in her face. Now, she was a small woman, and this was a big man. And that single punch in her face destroyed her. Her body went limp in the attacker's hands, and he hit her again. And the crowd, the people walking, all just stopped and went around it. Like no one stopped to stare. Just the crowd parted like the Red Sea around this woman's attack. I was there, sandwich in hand, glass in front of me. It's happening right in front of my eyes. They take her purse, take her watch, drop her on the street, walk. They didn't run. They walked away, and no one attempted to stop them. Now, any one of those walkers could say, well, man, I didn't do it. I didn't hit her. I didn't grab her. I didn't take her stuff. I'm innocent of her blood. I was there. I could have helped. I did nothing. Pilate had the power. He had the strength. He had the authority to save Christ. He didn't do it. He thought, if I wash my hands of Christ, I'm innocent. I heard people tell me, man, someday I'll die, I'll go to heaven. When I face God, I'll be like, I did not believe in you. I didn't hate you. I didn't attack your church. Is that good enough? Are we cool? I was never mean to your people. Is being on the fence enough? If I choose my whole life not to engage Christ, to avoid him, to walk that line of half in, half out, is that good enough for him? If I wash my hands of Christ and ignore him, am I innocent? And here's, in the end, the answer. Verse 26, then he released for them Barabbas, and having scourged Jesus, having beaten Jesus, delivered him to be crucified. Listen, washing your hands of Jesus doesn't work. Jesus gets crucified. Jesus dies. Pilate thought, I'm going to wash my hands of Christ and I'll be free of this fiasco. Well, here's the thing. Pilate is remembered in history for one thing. There's a thing in American church history called the Apostles' Creed. You heard this? The Apostles' Creed? Back in the day, like early European history, they called it the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, people couldn't read. Everyone was illiterate. So they had these creeds they would say. They would recite these poems to learn what Christians believed. And there was this one called the Apostles' Creed that the people said of what we believe about Jesus and God. The Apostles' Creed goes something like this. I believe in God the Father, Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. I believe in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord. Conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate. For 2,000 years, the church has said his name in a bad way. Peter's not in there. Paul's not in there. The only guy, there's Mary's in the creed. It's in Christ, you have Mary, and you have Pilate. That's all you have in the creed. He's remembered throughout history as the guy who allowed Christ to be crucified. Washing your hands of a thing does not make you clean of it. I might have washed my hands of that cheese bomb. But I gave everyone the idea. I brought the bomb to the stinking floor. I laughed and exploded. I was not innocent of that accusation. In the same way, if you have heard about Jesus Christ, if your family, your friends, your neighbors have told you that there is a God who wants to know you and love you, and you keep on dodging that, avoiding that, washing your hands of him, in the end, you will not be held innocent. You heard his gospel. You heard his message. And your choice is either to deny or receive it. Reject or receive. That's your only option. There is no middle ground. You can't be neutral. There is no neutrality with Jesus Christ. There's not. There's this crazy historical story. I love this story. It's brutal. During World War II, the island of Great Britain is watching Germany grow in power. And Germany is flexing their muscles, getting strong and powerful. And Great Britain, Churchill goes to France and says, hey, are you going to fight to the last man? Are we together? We're going to fight Hitler, right? We're going to fight Hitler and die together, right? We're in this? And France wouldn't say they were in. See, France in World War I lost a lot of people. World War I, trench warfare. The French, I don't want to make fun of the French for being like cowards. Listen, they were heroes in World War I, dude. They sent millions of their young ones into the war to be killed. And they didn't want to do it again. They were tired of dying. So the French wouldn't promise to fight Hitler to the last man. They wouldn't promise it. They claimed a little bit of neutrality. But Great Britain knew if Hitler walks into France and takes them over, he gets all their resources, all their land, their crops, their guns, their tanks, and he gets all their boats. He gets their navy. If he gets their navy, guess what? They can sail from Europe to the island and destroy England. So one day, Churchill, after begging the French president to give his word to fight, and the French would not fight, Churchill sent the Royal Air Force against the French Navy, unannounced, Pearl Harbor style. France was their friends. They sent their entire air force over and destroyed every ship in the lake, in the sea. A lot of French soldiers died that day. A lot of French soldiers died. The French were furious. But the French fell in like a week. Hitler would have gotten that navy, he would have destroyed it. The French wanted to be neutral, and there was no neutrality in that war. There was no ability to be neutral in that moment in history. You were either against Hitler or with him, basically. In that same way, we can't just say, Jesus, I don't know if we're cool or not. I'm going to do my thing. I'll see if you rule when I die. When you die, it's too stinking late, man. Now is the time. Am I with him or not? Will I follow him or not? You know what? Maybe you're like, I don't know. Well, then read. Follow him. Learn about him. I spent a year in church reading this book, sitting on other teachers like, is it true? Is it real? I was the biggest skeptic in the world. I read books on atheism trying to disprove this stuff. Just be a seeker of the truth. Be a student of the truth. Don't be content to be lazy and just say, I don't know. I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to wash my hands of Christ and his people and his Father. Washing the hands of Christ does not make you innocent. We must make a decision. We either receive him or reject him. With that said, let us pray together. Father in heaven, we look at Pilate, Lord, and it's understandable, I guess. He was trying to hold on to power. He was trying to please everybody. A lot of us are the same way. We're people pleasers. We don't want to cause a stink. But Lord, at the point of life, we must make a decision. Are we with you or not? Do we love you or not? Will we follow you or not? There's a point in our lives where we must stop playing pretend. Will we finally, upon looking at your Son Jesus Christ, will we choose to obey? Give us the desire, give us the heart to follow, that we may know you and glorify your name forever. In Christ's name we ask all these things. Amen. Amen.